How are you, Kane? How are you, Gerard?
Great to be here, Johnno, with you. Kane, I've got to say, if I hadn't have been there personally, I would not have believed what I saw 15 minutes ago. I was about 33 minutes ago. I wouldn't have believed it. I mean, I'd just be a total non-believer. If you said to me that you'd get in a lift to come down to the program and two people on floor 3 got into the lift and a guy with the Storm shirt turned to a lady and said, "That's Brad Johnson. That's Brad Johnson." And she said, "Who?"
Oh, no.
And she's a Bulldog supporter.
No.
And he said, "No, you're a Bulldog supporter. That's Brad Johnson." And she said, "Who?"
Don't believe it.
The bottom line is he
I don't
got, out,
believe it either,
he got out of the
Kane.
lift and went left. I got out of the lift and went right to the toilet. And she walked out and said, "No, I only liked Matty Boyd.
No.
I only like Matty Boyd."
That is not true.
That's exactly
You're
what she
making
said.
that
No,
up.
No, it's 100%.
No way.
That's exactly what she said. I could have.
Who likes an inside mid? Seriously.
Oh, that's right.
And then he went
A
to half
doer
back.
inside,
didn't he?
Come
He went to
on.
half back and
Tell
down
up.
half back.
You might have won a premiership, but seriously.
She can't be a true dog. Johnny.
No,
She
well.
cannot be a true dog.
Well,
Johnno,
she would ask for
Hard
something,
hitting
that's
one
sure.
for you off the top. Hard
Oh,
hitting.
really? Okay,
Yep.
here we go.
So on Monday night, Matty Lloyd, not for the first time, has basically said the only blemish on Marcus Bontempelli's extraordinary career is his ability to finish from the set shot. And we saw it again on Saturday night at a crunch moment late in the third quarter, top of the goal
We did.
square. Fair criticism or not over his set shot goal kicking, because it's about the only negative you could find.
Yeah, that's why he's doing a truckload of work at the moment.
Got the blindfold out.
And we're past that, Jared.
Okay.
We're actually seeing what we're doing these days.
Right.
But no, and honestly, he's doing a mountain of work, and he has through the entire summer. He put himself in the group to step up to do more goal kicking, and look, you know, I can't question the work ethic that he and everyone else has put in this facet of the game. It's a work in progress. It always will be, I think, goal kicking. We're going to see easy misses along the way, and we're going to see unbelievable goals as well, the ones you don't expect to be kicked that he will kick, and others will kick as well, Cornsey. So, that was a disappointing miss. He would have thought about it a lot. He would have gone back and practiced it a lot. I haven't spoken to him this week about that yet, and we will get to that. We will get to that at some point. But when I go back in the next couple of weeks, there's a couple of things that we need to sort of address pretty quickly, and one of those is those type of misses, which we did talk about, Kane, honestly, and I've said this at the start of the program around what the expectation is around that position to about 30 metres out from goal, and it's it was a disappointing miss, but he knows that. He knows that as well.
Speaking of that third quarter, there was a moment there where I thought Darcy's unstoppable here. Look, there's not a matchup
did he
for
look?
him. I felt like his teammates identified that. I felt like he is just growing into himself every week. I feel like I know he missed one in the third quarter, but I feel like his set shot routine is in really good order. He's really
What I liked about that, though, Kane, and this is where the players take full credit for the work that they do, because part of the whole setup is that if you miss, you know why, and you've got to adjust it straight away in game. Don't wait till the following training session or week to look at your review and go, I was too close to the man on mark, or I was this, or I started when I don't normally. Things like that. So with Sam Darcy, he was way too close to the man on the mark on his first shot. The second opportunity he's got, he pulled himself back a little bit further, kicked from the distance required, came through the footy perfectly and adjusted on the run. And that's what a young player needs to do.
How do you train people to deal with the Kyle Langford moment?
Well, it is a tough one. And
You can have a perfect technique.
No,
but
you can.
Can you produce it?
You can. And sometimes I think, and looking at Kyle's on match day, he just looked up a little bit quicker than what he normally would. He was looking at the result rather than and hoping that, I've nailed this and it slides off. And look, I've been in the situation where I missed 2 after the siren, Gerard. So, I can speak openly about it. Yeah, there was goals along the way that were close to the end of the game that you nail.
Yeah.
But I did miss afterwards. And, the first one, absolutely, I looked up at the result. So your technique, you think, I'm online, I'm doing exactly what I practiced. But you just lift your head a little bit and you come off the
Anxiety.
kick. Yep. That all comes into it. But you live and learn along the way. And I think someone like Kyle Langford, and I did a video for a young fella this week who missed after the siren. And you sort of talk to the players in these situations about you've got to want the ball in your hands again because you've put yourself there this time.
Yep.
And you might have missed it and it's so costly and it's devastating in the moment. But for the future, still put yourself back in that moment because you'll do the work behind the scenes to be confident to have that shot again. And you can't lose sight of the fact that Langford put himself there because he wanted to win the ball. He wanted it in his hands.
Yep.
That shouldn't change next week or the week after or in 12 months' time or 2 years. Keep fronting up. Keep putting yourself in the position to kick those clutch goals when they're required, whether they're deep in quarters, deep in games, or after the siren.
Have you come in with a list, Johnno?
I've got a couple of things that we wanted to talk about. Gerard and I have been discussing. We actually started discussing this on the weekend when we were doing the game Adelaide versus North Melbourne, and it's just because a couple of North Melbourne players are in that position of restricted or unrestricted free agents throughout this year. So we've gone through the full list, Cornsey, and we'd love your opinion on this as well, and tried to rate who we would look at from the list. Now, the list is long. Now, the restricted free agent isn't, but the unrestricted free agency list is huge. So from a restricted free agent, these are the players that we would look to go after. And these are the obvious ones. McCluggage, McGrath, Will Haywood, and Timmy English. They're probably the four that sit in the restricted free agency list that we would have a go at. But unrestricted, the list is long, but it's not great.
Not deep in talent.
No, and that's where we go to Cornsey. And I know you're big on this in terms of what some of these players' deals will be are so inflated to where they're actually at in the competition. So as a club, how can you be smart to get a player as an unrestricted free agent, but still pay them, not completely overs because the talent is okay, but it's not great. So we went through the whole list. We had to get to Freo before we'd probably sort of go, okay, Bailey Banfield is one that we would maybe look at
him
as
Horny had him rated the
agent.
34th best player in the comp last night. Kane?
Never understood why he's been super sub and first one out, last one picked.
100%.
His last quarter, 9 touches, 2 goals. Thought he was enormous and has attributes to play that. Oh, you'd love to see him at the Bulldogs. I think that he would be perfectly suited at the Dogs for that high half forward role. But
it's a multi-year deal on.
Yeah, I understand.
400 or 500, isn't it? It's not. Yeah. So
well, you're probably looking at like a Blake Acres type deal, I would have thought. Like from Freo, that they don't give him a lot of love with a contract. Carlton to go, okay, we identify a need there. Here's a 3-year deal at 400, say, and he moves.
Yeah, exactly. And
imagine what he would, because at the moment he was the number one wingman in the game on the weekend. What if he put himself up for trade right now? What would his numbers be, Johnno? Given that we're going into this explosive financial era. No, Blake Acres.
Oh, Blake Acres is
because he's come over on a much lesser of a deal than he probably would get right now.
Yeah, his worth has gone
through the
roof. Absolutely, it has. With what he's been able to do for Carlton in clutch moments, in particular, and saving games, and his work back to intercept mark at the right time. And
it's a good deal by the Blues.
Very good deal by the Blues, and that's what we're talking about here. It's the type of players on this list are like where Blake Acres was at. Now he's stepped beyond that.
Yep.
And can you get them now, and have they the ability to step beyond the level that they're currently
Give us some of your good ones.
So from the Catters, you got Jack Henry, Parfitt, or Stengel. Stengel's about where he's
2
at.
years ago.
So Parfitt can produce some good footy when given consistent moments around the ball. Jack Henry, great defender. From Gold Coast, you got Lemons, who I know you
I'd go for
really
Lemons.
rate. I like McPherson as a solid player in the competition. GWS, they've got Cumming and Perryman, who I think are two players. Well, maybe Isaac Cumming in particular could go to that next level. He's at a level now. I think he's got plenty more upside. The Hawks, you've got Nash, Connor Nash, as an option. Big mid.
Good year last year, struggling a bit this year.
But they all sort of are, aren't they? Now, the next one's yours, Gerard Tomlinson. You just think that you would use this guy.
Well, I just looked at his numbers in the twos on the weekend. Something like 30-odd possessions, half a dozen intercepts. He can run and play on the wing. It seems too good a player to be not in an AFL side somewhere. And, there's a lot of key backs being required. I mean, North Melbourne, he'd be first picked at the present time at North Melbourne.
Best defender.
He would be.
I mean, Swan's probably looking for another one. Port Adelaide, well, they've filled their breach. But I look at Tomlinson and think to myself, how stiff was he not to play in the flag? And he's a good depth player for Melbourne, granted. But, gee, he should have left last year, and he should absolutely leave this year.
Jack Graham at the Tigers.
Yeah, he's a good pickup if you can get him.
He'd be solid, wouldn't he? Now for the Saints, Josh Battle. This is an interesting one because Josh Battle is the type of player, I think the upside's pretty strong, and he could demand a reasonable whack in terms of pay.
The thing I like about Josh Battle, Kane, is what you see is what you get. You know what you're going to get. The upside is probably not that strong, but you know you're going to get a 7 out of 10, 22 weeks of the year player.
Ollie Florent.
Versatility as well. Can play.
Yep.
They've tried him a bit on the wing, down back. I've seen him play forward as well, so it gives you that.
Yeah.
Ollie Florent's the number one, I think, on the list.
Having a good year too.
He's having a good
Where's
year.
my man Haywood?
Haywood was on the restricted side of things, yes. So
Hoyne wasn't as glowing in his praise of Haywood as you are, Kane.
Hoyne doesn't love Haywood, but there's
But this is the thing. So
intangible
someone
about
like
Haywood.
Will Haywood. So this is the interesting part about going to that next level, playing well in a system and a side that has got some really strong players around him. If he does get offered a big contract somewhere else, I think that senior core down front down forward is so important for Will Haywood. He can't become. He's not ready to be the number one guy. I don't think he'll ever be that number one sort of guy. It's sort of, I don't know, who through the Brisbane Lions sort of tenure when they had all their absolute superstars, they had a couple of fringe players that ended up moving clubs that didn't go as well when
people thought.
Yeah. Because of what they
Structure
lost around them. So that's my only concern with Will Haywood, who's got natural talent to burn, but he needs strong structure around him with other key players.
Hoyne's point, I think, was more just be aware of who you're getting. He's more a ground ball player rather than an aerial. He's not going to become your hybrid third tall.
Anyone else left, Johnno? You're at
No, so just Elliot Yeo was one.
Kane's
No, I don't want to hear.
And Libba was the other one on the list.
Said about my man Haywood. Well, Libba is about to re-sign for a year, or just has, I think, at the Western Bulldogs. Yeah, so
cross him off.
I just wonder about the quality, and the AFL loves player movement, and I just wonder whether, because so many clubs are so scared to lose anyone, they just sign them for inflated deals and for inflated years, that we're losing that player movement aspect. Because as you said, and as you highlighted, the quality of the players that are restricted and unrestricted are not to the level that perhaps they have been in the past. And their players push so hard to have this included in their deals, free agency, and now there's not many left. What about your top six, Johnno?
Yeah, well, last week we spoke about the importance of the bottom six on your list, in your 22, I should say, of any given week. And so, Gerard, you put the challenge on me to go, well, let's not focus on the bottom. Let's focus on the top, the very best in each team.
But who's got the best top six? That's what I want you to tell me.
And it's tough.
I know that. That's why I gave you the challenge.
It's so tough. You're going through it and you're going, okay, that's pretty good. And yeah, that's a good top six, and that's an excellent top six. So I narrowed it down to the top 8 at the moment.
Right.
And
who's got the best then?
I actually think the GWS have got the best at the moment.
Give us their 6.
Just in front of the Blues. So the GWS top 6 is Taylor, the 2 Greens, Kelly, Whitfield, and Hogan.
So you've got you've got 2 attackers there. Because I think the most important thing in your
they've
best
got 2,
six,
2, and 2.
You've got to have forwards in your best 6 players.
So they've got 2, 2, and 2. Taylor and Whitfield off the back half. Hogan and Green up in the forward line.
Great mix.
Green and Kelly.
Great mix.
So the Blues.
Yeah.
You go Cripps, Walsh, Wiedering,
2,
Kerno, Mackay, and I put Chera there. I nearly went Sard, but I went with Chera.
So you got 3 mids, 1 back.
It's pretty good, isn't
and
it?
2 forwards there. Now they've got a powerful top 6.
Is that a top 6 to take them to the flag? Are Carlton relying on their top 6 or bottom 6 to win them the flag this year?
Probably the gurus would tell you they're relying on their system, Johnno.
Don't worry about system,
But
mate. We all know
top
the players
6,
make the system.
2 weeks ago, their top 6 got them across the line.
So their bottom 6, the Blues, is, and this was from 2 weeks ago, so I haven't had a look at last week, but it was Young, Boyd, Cowan, Durden, and the 2 Hollands boys.
Yeah, but it was. Well, they're both going to be good. The Hollands.
No,
boys,
I think they are, but at the moment
there.
where they sit in their list is in the bottom.
Give me the Cats' top 6.
The Cats' top 6 is Cameron, Blixarves, and Stewart.
Yeah.
Then it goes Myers, Holmes, and Danger. Still
Danger.
I think so. I think it still does. Look, Hawkins isn't there at the moment. Then you got Duncan. So they've gone past those guys, Guthrie, that will still play an important role for them, but they're not in their top 6.
So, Kane, is it more important to have the best top 6 or an even spread?
Well, I'm just looking at Geelong's, and that didn't really excite me. So I think the answer may be, with their success and a long way to go, that maybe it's better to have an even spread.
Well, what about the Swannies? I just got to get this one out. Heaney, Blakey, Goulden, Warner, Papley, McCartan.
No forwards, except Papley.
Yep.
But he's
Of
more
the
a ground
small
ball.
variety.
He's a mid forward.
Yep. But their ball use with those first four
Yeah.
is a separator.
If I said to you, Johnno, take Papley out and put Curnow in, it'd make it look a bit different, wouldn't it?
A lot different.
Well,
a lot different. What about the most disappointing top six at the moment is the Brisbane Lions. We understand that because they've got Neil, Dunkley, McCluggage, Andrews, Cameron and Danaher.
Good
So
spread.
they've got the spread.
I would have
just
said
don't have the impact
at the start
at the
of the
moment.
year, that would be my top six. I would have taken that at the start of the year. But,
And the flying, and we
yeah.
know the Pies fans want to know where theirs are at. Well, to go is injured, but the two Dacos boys, Moore, Maynard and Mychek, that's pretty solid as well with strength and ball use. So the Pies are on the move at the moment.
So what's more important, top six or system and spread?
I think for this year,
Yeah.
it'll be a top six.
Okay. Top six is going to get across your line. I know you wanted to have a comment on the sub rule.
Oh, I love it. Brad Scott, yes.
Let's listen to Brad Scott before Johnno gives us his thoughts.
Finally a coach has stood up and said, this is a joke. Because it is. It is not. There's no intrigue. I don't sit there going, oh, my God, the subs come on.
Johnno,
Wow.
we hated it 12 years ago.
Exactly,
Why would we
Cornsey.
like
Why
it
are we
now?
there?
But the only query I've got, why are we making it 5 on the bench? Why all
No,
of
we
a
don't need to
sudden-
do that either.
So
Yeah,
just,
I get that.
just go back to where we were and have it 4 on the
21
bench.
the sub.
No sub. Just,
Oh, yeah, no.
just
so-
play your
okay.
22.
22. Play at 22. Would you still bring down the rotations, Kane? Or you think we're right where rotations are with 4 on the bench?
I
at the
would
moment?
love to have a look at less rotations. I would love it. And I think
I don't think it needs to be a change of much, though. I don't think we're
What
too
are we,
bad.
75?
75.
I think with what we're getting at the moment, I think it's about right for the players.
But he's right. The sub adds nothing. Now,
And,
when
and
it was
watching them post game, Cornsey, like imagine yourself, just say you're in the latter part of your career and you haven't played much game time, and then you're going to run around Adelaide Oval for half an hour, really at half trot, just to get some GPS numbers up.
Put this to the
come on.
AFL about 6 months ago. I think it was Laura Kane, and it might have been one of her offsiders. But they said that the stats show that there's less blowouts if you get an injury, if you have a sub rather than have an extra person on the bench. That's the reason behind the sub.
Okay.
But is that a strong enough reason, Johnno, to have this?
How many times? I just
No.
call absolute rubbish on that. How many times have you seen a sub come on and legitimately impact a game, or single-handedly prevent a blowout? Like
That's
if it's a blowout,
minimal.
it's a blowout. You're not saying
And
okay,
the
the
fact
sub's
first-
coming on
and-
halfway through the last quarter
Yeah.
and preventing blowouts. That's a myth.
Well, I'm not saying it,
No, I
but
know.
that's,
I know.
that's what I'm
I'm
told.
not having
But
a crack at you. I'm just saying
half the
that's
time, though,
ridiculous.
the sub comes on after the blowouts happened.
And the other thing that frustrates me is first gamer starting as
Yeah,
as
that's
sub.
really bad. That
And
should be
that's-
rule number one.
Well, it happens, and we see it happen, especially with the late change, unfortunately, and that shouldn't be the case either with the first gamer. So I'm glad that finally we've heard from a coach who has, I think, relayed exactly what majority of us think, and hopefully it makes some ground as the year goes on and they take note and we don't see it anymore.
Who's the best small forward in the game at the moment, Johnno?
It's a tough one because I'm rolling through and I'm trying to get the best one in the competition inside the All-Aus team, and that's why I thought I'd open it up for a bit of a discussion, because I think on the list you've got Bolton and Pickett, you've got Brent Daniels and Tyson Stengel, Isaac Rankin, Cody Waitman, Charlie Cameron.
Does Grind Myers qualify?
Well, he is small in nature, isn't he? So in stature, I should say. So he probably does qualify for that as well. But it comes off the back of the newcomers, Cornsey, that we all loved on the weekend. And,
Yes.
you had Darcy Jones with his pure speed along with Jake Rogers. And I'm going, wow, this is exciting. We've got the next wave, hopefully, who get going in the competition. But who's the number one?
Is Shy
at
Bolton
the
on your
moment?
list?
Bolton's on my list. He has
He's
been
more
in-
a mid forward, though, isn't he?
Yeah,
But I
but
suppose
they
they
kind of
all
all
are,
are
aren't they?
now.
Yeah.
They kind of have to be
Yeah.
when you have a look at what they're all
Bobby
doing.
Hill,
Cozzy Pickett
mention him?
steps in. No, I didn't have Bobby Hill. No, that's a good one. I like that. So
Yeah.
therefore, but who would you pick out of that list so far?
Oh.
Because Isaac Rankin is one that, Gerard, you were pumping up big time on the weekend.
Isaac Rankin's a fantastic player. I think he's the highest rated small forward. But you can't deny the role that Graham Myers plays for that club. I mean, I know he's in your All-Australian side, and right now he's a lock for the All-Australian side because he is so important to the way that Geelong play. It's incredible.
I think so. He's the one for me right now. He's had 20 plus in every game he's played this year.
Yep.
The criticism I had on him last year, and we discussed this without speaking out of school in the All-Australian meeting, like, can you have a All-Australian small forward that's kicked 7 goals for the year? I know he had the assists and the scoreboard impact and all that, but now this year he's got 7 already. So he's matched his goal kicking tally in 7 games than what he did all of last year. And then
this
you
is
add
the
in
thing,
the
Kane.
possessions, the assists, his ability to help Geelong transition the ball. He's absolutely flying, Graham Myers.
But you would have to put Graham Myers on a half-forward flank, I think, which is higher. So you have the deep forward, the deep small forward, and then you'd have to put Myers up there, and he replaces a mid that you might have to squeeze
get
out
Bucks started on the
you have to
makeup of the wear.
because Graham Myers does play high anyway, like a mid, right?
So Bucks and he can speak to this. Bucks just thinks you should just name 6 forwards and 6 defenders, rather than have no one has half forward flanks anymore.
Oh yeah,
You just have a forward
Yeah.
6.
Yeah, but we know where they play. They
Yeah.
play higher than others. So I think the positional side of
But Rankin goes
Positional
where-
side
where
of
can
footy
you play
should never
Rankin?
go.
Because Rankin's spending time on ball now. This is why it's really difficult, and Hoyne's already spoken to this with the way Champion Data are adjusting their numbers. Who plays what position right now? Like, what's Isaac Rankin? Is he forward pocket? Is he half forward? Is he mid?
And we shouldn't ignore Brent Daniels, who it's very reflective of the way the game's playing. I mean, look at how many small forwards the Giants are picking in their team right now.
That's right.
They are so important for transition, for pressure, for creating goals, for blocking the opposition going from one side of the ground to the other. It's a specialist position that has been underrated for a long time.
A couple of things before we get to your rolling All-Australian side. You want to mention Isaac Healy? And
Well, you're going to mention the Brownlow, and we know that he's going to be the front runner for the Brownlow medal this year. But you look at last year, and we're just pumped with what Nick Dacos was doing in the competition.
Yep.
At this stage in round 7, Nick had 45 coaches' votes. The next best was on 33. So when you look at Isaac Heaney on 54 coaches' votes to this particular point in the season, it's just outstanding. Merritt's on 37 with a bit of a bolt at the moment. Next best is gone on 33.
Merritt's year's been phenomenal as well. I read today, I think it's only one other player has had more than 50 votes at this time of the year.
So-
It was Gary Ablett.
Wow, there you go. What level Gary Ablett was at consistently, though. So therefore you go to Isaac Heaney might be on about 18 votes at the moment in terms of the Brownlow medal. So if he is, he only needs, of the remaining games left,
Yep.
he's got to be best on in 5 of them, I think, which gives him another 15 votes, takes him to possibly 31. That's going to be tough to beat.
Absolutely. I wrote an article about 10 years ago, Johnno, saying with the new way we're dealing with suspensions, it's ridiculous that people are going to be missing a Brownlow medal for some of the one-weekers that come up. And a text has just come through asking me, Gerard, can you tell me with a straight face that all the suspensions these days warrant disqualification from the Brownlow? And that's from David. David, I couldn't agree with you more. It's crazy, some of the things that people are being disqualified from the Brownlow medal for. And it will change, I'm sure, when one of the favourites gets done for an innocuous, accidental tackle, for instance.
Well, Merritt last year in Gatherand, I think, was one of those. Very innocuous, I think, was suspended. And I remember we had that discussion last year, Gerard. I couldn't agree with you more. Like, ridiculous that even, not that Jack Higgins is going to win any Brownlows, but he should miss for that.
No.
But it's a 3-week suspension, so it's is there a threshold? Is it 1? Is it? I'm not sure.
Well, I think in that column I did years ago, it was the threshold was 2 weeks or something that was clearly violent. But a lot of the stuff now is accidents. So, David, 100%. Have we got any of the good oil to give away?
We've got a $50 voucher to All Day Socks by Underworks. We've got a 18 holes of golf at Club Mandalay. So, Dave, we'll be in touch with you, and you can have those great prizes this evening. It's not often we talk NHL, Johnno.
Well, I saw the other day, Cornsey, I'm just sort of sitting back and flicking through the channels, and I'm watching the NHL. And when the player, and I don't know the teams that well, and I've only been to a few games live in my life, and I thought, I don't know the players. So therefore, when the player received the puck, his name flashed up above his head, a little graphic. And I thought, that's pretty cool. Would that work in the AFL? And I don't know the answer. Part of me goes, no, it'd be too messy. It just would look a bit full on.
How would you do it with the speed with which
Well,
you
that's-
go handball,
well,
handball,
they-
handball?
But
Yeah,
isn't
but it's-
the NHL, how quick is that? How did
But
that's what I was thinking.
they flash it quick. Like it pops as soon as the player
So
receives
when-
the puck.
when they
Bang, the
get the
name's
puck-
there. Like watching the baseball at the moment, for example, it could probably work now because you've got the pitcher, the batter. I don't know who the batter is. It'd be good to know who's up
Well,
having a crack.
the names are on the back of their shirts.
Yeah, I know, but I can't read that. Especially
There's
the
one
bat.
bloke. There's one bloke there called Chicago.
Is it just for that sport, Cornsey, or is there room for it
no,
potentially? Not all the time, but every now and then, could a name flash up? Who's having a set shot? Boom. That's who it is.
Well, they used to do that. I reckon they used to do that. I think
Really?
they used
I
to
can't
do
remember seeing
whoever
this.
was having a set shot, name
Yeah,
and
I think
stats.
it still happens, Johnno.
Name and stats used to bob up and.
Damn.
I think Fox is still doing
Well,
that. Johnno.
I think Fox are doing.
Well,
Like,
they do.
the
Yeah, they do on the
accuracy-
side and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But so maybe not for that example then, but for general play, is it too much? It's too much. I personally probably think it's too much now that we're talking about it out loud, Gerard.
I don't mind your left field ideas. What was your number one Guernsey one last year?
No,
Yeah,
no.
that
But
was
if we're watching the Olympics in a
Yes.
few weeks' time, that wouldn't be a bad one for it to maybe pop up.
Like it.
So we're going to put them, given that we're talking about pucks, we'll put them under the puck column. All
What do you-
Johnno's outlandish
What do you
ideas.
think? 04339 out of 11
No,
16.
we ain't got
How
time for
could the
that.
broadcast coverage be improved? And be nice. Don't need to bag any commentators.
No,
but
you
in
don't
terms
have
of
to
the
do any of
overall
that.
coverage and the appearance of what you're seeing on your
Watch
TV
the
screens.
hockey. Do yourself a favour. Watch the hockey. See if you like that first, and then make a call.
We've gone early with this, Kane. We may have to reopen it up at some other stage. But behind the goal vision, I
Yes.
think we need a lot more of.
Definitely.
I'd love a lot behind the goals vision channel. So
Yep.
you watch the whole game from behind the goals.
Really?
Yep.
The coaches have got that. The coaches
Yeah,
have
of
got all
course they have,
sorts of
yeah.
angles. So they
So can you flick
Yeah,
ends
you
halfway?
flick. You go flick. You go
flick
bang
ends.
behind the goals. You go bang,
The other
close
end.
Up. Yeah. We'll get that eventually.
Mm.
I'm sure we
bad.
will.
That's
Yeah,
not
I
bad.
reckon we will as well. You have the option. So the coaches can watch it from, I think it's 3 angles. It was when I was playing. So the broadcast, but then you can zoom out from the broadcast so you get a greater view of,
Yep.
and you've probably got that at Fox whenever you're doing games not in venue and then behind the goals as well. Johnno, we'll put you under the pump. How's your rolling All-Australian team looking?
Yeah, it's coming together.
Before you go, Johnno, there's about 4 texts all saying the same thing, predicting that there's going to be an axing of
Wrong.
Petrarca
Wrong.
and an inclusion of
May have been discussed in match committee.
100%
Do you
was
still
All
hate
Australian,
listening, Johnno?
my own All Australian committee that I bring together week in,
Yes.
week out.
Was Petrarca on the
He
cusp
was-
of falling out?
Well, it's trying to fit everybody in. Is the issue
That's a
here.
yes.
But he's in.
Okay.
Okay, he's in. So Vlotston, Pearce, and McGovern are the back line.
Yes.
Whitfield, Blakey, Nick Martin still holds his spot from the Bombers. Goulden, Merritt, and Kelly is the centre line.
Yep.
You're liking Errol Goulden. He's building
Yep,
into the season now.
Yep. Kelly's having a great year,
Yeah,
finally
unbelievable
being
year.
recognised.
Myers, Cameron, and Petrarca. Isaac Rankin is just sitting there.
You haven't got him in?
Not yet. Bolton, Curnow, and Hogan is the full forward line. Gawn, Heaney, and Tom Green is the midfield, along with Sarong, Cripps, Butters, and Rowell comes back in
Yep.
for the bench. So in is Cameron, out is Fritz, and in is Rowell, out is Rosie.
Are you concerned about having 4 mids on the bench?
No, not at the moment.
Not at the moment.
Not at the moment.
Kane, are you concerned with 4 mids on the bench?
What are you looking for? Are you looking for
I'm
another?
looking for another
bit of
potential
flexibility.
ruckman,
Or a
potential
defender?
halfback. Yeah.
Yes.
Somebody with a bit of height, Johnno, just in case you lose someone.
I'll work on it. Well, I've
You
got
can-
McGovern, Pearce, and Blakey there at the moment.
Oh, you got McGovern.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Well, then you haven't got 4 mids there.
Just on Nick Martin.
Yeah, I know. McGovern's in the team already.
Yeah.
Johnno, 10 touches and a goal in the last
Mhm.
quarter.
Yep.
Would you keep him at half
Playing as a
back?
forward, wasn't
Yeah.
he?
Would you
I
keep him at
get
half
that.
back,
No, that
or-
was a positional move to win the game.
Yeah, forget your team for a moment. As if you're trying to win the game for the Bombers going forward, is he more effective
Yep.
in that role, or is he more effective across half back?
No, across halfback.
Really?
So playing higher, wing halfback, they need his type of ball use. In the early part of the season, this is what's setting Essendon up, is the run and drive of Martin and McGrath. So they can't lose that as a team.
Mason Redman is the one they've got to get going.
He's a
and
good
maybe
player.
they've lost his drive because they're getting it from Martin.
Well, maybe they are a little bit and playing it. I think with what they've got from a structural point of view with Ridley out of the team, I think he has to play more at home rather than getting off and having that drive that we've seen in the past, because you've got to support Mackay and Laverde in particular. You can't leave them exposed too often. So I think Mason Redman he's playing an important role, a little bit different to what we're used to help those guys.